Let's get started. It's my pleasure to introduce today's presenter. As the Youth Program Specialist at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences, Kathryn Rende develops and manages the teen programs and focuses on science communication. She holds a bachelor's degree in botany and a master's in visual journalism, and before coming to the museum, Kathryn created science-themed multimedia for institutions like the Miami Herald, the National Park Service, and a National Geographic magazine. I'd like to welcome and thank you for joining us today, Kathryn.
Hi, RJ. Thank you so very much for having me, and thank you, audience, for attending.
Excellent. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Okay, sounds great. I'm just going to go ahead and bring up my PowerPoint here for you guys to see. So as RJ mentioned, this is the Digital Engagement for Virtual Audiences webinar, Part 1. Just a brief introduction to myself. I am the specialist in the youth programs at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences. And I have two programs that I coordinate here. One is the Teen Science Cafes, which I assume you guys are all very familiar with. And then also the Teen Newsroom program here at the museum, which allows teens to create digital media, science communications for the museum's blog, magazine, and other publications. So now that you guys have been introduced to me, I have a few questions for you guys. I was hoping that we could start by getting to know the audience here. If you guys could use that chat feature and just let me know, what's the size of your attendee population? Are you about 10 to 20 participants, 20 to 50, or over 50, just so I can get a good idea of your current reach? Okay, Fiona says she's 10 to 20, right? Over 50, excellent, okay. And D, what is D there, Jeffrey? Or who do I see with D? All of the above, okay. And excuse me for squinting. The screen in front of me, it's a little hard to read. So. Great. Okay. So it sounds like we've got a really good mix of audience sizes. So is anybody currently using video or broadcast technology at your museum or at your institution? I apologize. Whether that's for cafes or for something else. Do you have those capabilities? That's question number 2. A for yes, or just you can say yes. Okay, yes, so we do have some people already with video capabilities. A few no's, another yes. Great, great. A few more answers still coming in. Capability on a laptop. Okay, no video, but have the capability. Excellent, great. That gives me a really good idea of what levels to talk about here today. And hopefully the resources that I've provided for you guys online will can meet any of those needs, depending on whether you're a small institution or you have no video capabilities, or if you do and you're wondering which route to take. Excellent. So who is using social media already? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. What are you using to promote? And if you want to say yes and then tell me what you're using, that would also be great to know. Facebook, Instagram, excellent. Facebook. Wonderful, great. I'm glad you guys, a lot of you seem to already have familiarity with these platforms. And that's excellent. Okay, all right, so now that I know you guys a little bit better, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you what we do here at the museum. It's not to say it's the only example, but this is what I know, so this is what I'm gonna talk a little bit about today. So the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences, we are quite a large institution. In 2000, we opened the Nature Exploration Center, and you can see that over here on your screen. I think my mouse is hovering over it, and that was the original building of the museum, which has a lot of traditional museum exhibits, taxidermy specimens, some live exhibits, and then some educational programs that we had there as well. But in 2012, we opened the Nature Research Center, and that is this large image that you see before you with this globe and all the glass. And it's a state-of-the-art facility. And in building that facility, we had in mind already that we were planning to do things like teen science cafes. We wanted to hold large in-person events, but we also wanted to hold large events that we could broadcast online. So we have several venues inside the Nature Research Center, including the Daily Planet Theater, which is actually inside that globe that you see right there in front of you. And then we have the Daily Planet Cafe. And that is actually our restaurant inside the museum. But what's neat about the restaurant is we had it constructed with cafes in mind. So inside the Daily Planet Cafe, we have a stage, and it's at the very front of the restaurant, and that's where we have our adult cafes and our teen science cafes. So, and here's a view of the same presentation, but from the back of the cafe. This particular cafe, obviously live animals are a huge draw, so we were standing room only, and you can see that we have several television monitors inside the cafe where people who are sitting down, hanging out, can actually watch the presentation happening on stage on those monitors. We have 3 video cameras in that cafe space, and not only does that help to reach our in-person audience sitting in the back, but it also is something that we can broadcast out to the World Wide Web. This is the behind the scenes of our studio. We have a full digital media studio here. We are very, very, very lucky to have those capabilities and to have a wonderful digital media staff that really provides us with all the assets that we need to make a successful cafe. So we can do live broadcasts from this studio. We can record all of our events. And we can stream, like I said, to the TVs that are in the museum, but also to the web, to the internet. So we use YouTube, Facebook, and Livestream as our streaming platforms, and that's both recorded content and live content. So I'm going to go into 2 platforms today that we use specifically for teen science cafes. As I said, since we started the cafe program 5 years ago, we have been recording all of our cafes and broadcasting them on Livestream. It's a really wonderful platform. Not sure if you guys are familiar with it, but it's definitely one to consider. The thing that's really great about Livestream is you can see on the right-hand side here, this is the archive of all of the cafes that we have done in the past 5 years. It's an excellent resource for getting in touch with speakers. Anytime I reach out to a speaker and I'm like, hey, I'm not sure if you're familiar with our format, please take a look at these videos. You can see the kinds of cafes we've had in the past. But you can also watch one and kind of get a feel for things before you get started. The interface is super clean, super easy. It's wonderful to use. Here is where the main video plays, and then also you can just scroll through and select anything from the past that you'd like to watch. It does have some drawbacks, as any platform does, mostly accessibility. People have to sign up to follow Livestream. So they'll get an email notification, ping, if you will, anytime we go live, which is good, but also if we don't do our part to promote that on social media and get people actually signing up for Livestream, we're not catching as many people as we would like. So the reach is a bit smaller, and you can see on here, maybe you can't because it's a little small, but a typical online cafe, we're getting between 30 and 40 views, whereas our in-person audience is usually over 60 in-person participants. Sometimes it's a lot higher. Another problem, and this is true of most streaming platforms, is bandwidth. The people that are using, they've got to have a strong connection. They've got to have proper bandwidth in order to view the videos that we are putting out to them. And I know that some people in the past have had a problem watching our cafes depending on their own network. So that's always something to consider. So another really cool feature about Livestream is it has this chat interface. And we're talking right now in the chat on the right-hand side of your screen, and Livestream has the same thing. So here is an image of our cafe coordinators introducing the cafe of that day, and this is actually where the video plays. I took some screenshots, so I'm not going to be jumping around between different tabs on you guys. But you can see that I welcome everybody here in the chat and invite them to ask questions. So I don't know if you can actually see me. I'm sitting over here on this side of the room, and I'm on a computer fielding those live questions. So when we go to Q&A, I have a microphone. The speaker knows that I'm going to be taking questions from the audience, and I can actually engage with people online so that they feel like they are part of the cafe experience, which is really great. So online obviously gets us, the same level of engagement, and that's what we want. So that's really great, but again, as I said, the reach is narrow. Typical Cafe has 30 to 40 views. So we recently started doing Facebook Live. Our museum has a tremendous following on Facebook. And with the new Facebook Live feature, I think many of you are probably familiar with it. It is a great tool and asset for digital engagement. So this is the secondary platform that we use. And just even starting, you can see the reach is significantly higher because we already have the museum's built-in social media audience working for us. So we reached 1,900 people with our last cafe, 231 views, which really blows our live stream views out of the water. It was a really successful implementation of that by the museum, and we really appreciate them putting our cafes out there and taking full advantage of this social media. So cool things about Facebook Live. Again, the built-in audience factor. You may have a following on social media already, which is great because you'll be able to reach out to them directly. The autoplay feature, I'm sure you guys have seen this on Facebook. The video is just going to start playing as you scroll, which is why there's a difference between people reached and views. Views are people that are sticking around for a little bit longer. Reach is people that have seen it or it's been populated into their feed. And we'll go into the specifics of that when we get to resources. But it catches passersby. People that may not have even known about teen science cafes are seeing this video and they may stop, they may hang out for a minute, or they might, go on about their business. But now they're familiar with cafes and maybe this is something that they will want to attend in the future. So I count it as a win even if they don't stay too long. It's trendy. People are using Facebook Live now. News outlets are using Facebook Live. Businesses are using Facebook Live. I'm sure you guys have probably seen it if you are on Facebook. So trendy is a thing, and with teens, trendy is big. They're using social media, so we need to get on the same page with them and with that audience. Platform consistency, and what I mean by this is, and you guys probably do this too, you put a lot of your announcements out on Facebook. Cafe coming up, this is the topic, this is what we're going to do. And we do the same thing. So for us, it makes sense to have everything in a nice, neat package on this social media platform. Our teams put out the announcements that we're going to be having at events, but then they also do things like put up the activity sheet. We want to make sure that our online audience is having the same experience that the audience in the cafe is. So for our activities, we put out a materials list and instructions in advance on Facebook. So anybody who wants to tune in at home and can't be there can download that sheet and have everything ready to go for them. We also invite people to chat on Facebook. You guys all know that you can make comments on a Facebook video, and that's a really great already integrated way to get in touch with your audience. We put up this, hey, we're live now. If you want to download, you can see it on the link here. If you want to download the activity, go for it, and we'll be taking questions in Q&A, so please post in the comments. And again, I and a team and a member of our teen coordinators group are watching these feeds, and we're engaging with our speaker during the cafe and making sure that we are addressing all of the things of our audience. Cons, like I said with anything, bandwidth, and sometimes it can be glitchy, especially if you're patching in a feed from a studio going into Facebook Live. And that's something that has come up, but there are ways around it. For us specifically, we're always trying to be prepared by having a backup plan in place, and that backup plan is posting the link to live stream, because that's our secondary stream. You can re-engage your audience once you get back into live stream with the chat feature, and I have known this to work. We have had a cafe where in the past Facebook went glitchy, so I threw up the the link to live stream, and that Facebook audience actually migrated over to live stream. And the people that want to stick around generally are going to, especially if you give them the tools to stay. So while it's not ideal, we want everything to work perfectly, it can work to send them somewhere else, in our experience. So that's something to keep in mind if you are planning on doing digital outreach, is what is your backup plan going to be? Because technology, sometimes it doesn't work, and I think we all are familiar with that happening. So how would you let your audience know if it crashed? So we've talked a lot about what we're doing here, but let's switch gears and talk about the value of digital outreach. In the introduction to this webinar, we're saying with online streaming, you can reach audiences with a variety of barriers. Geographic is a big one. We're here in Raleigh, North Carolina, in the Research Triangle Park, but we have people attending our cafes online that are several miles away. People in the mountains, people at the coast, people who would want to come and are interested in this topic, but it's not feasible for them to drive 2.5 hours during rush hour to be at our cafes at 6 p.m. So geographically, it provides an experience for anybody to feel like they're actually at a cafe. Weather is another thing. The last cafe that we had a snowstorm, a snow and ice event, which is a little unusual for Raleigh in that it closes absolutely everything down when we do have one. So we put out the note to our audience that, hey, if you guys can't make it, tune in online, and we did. We had equal online participation on that particular cafe as we did in-person attendance, which we measured as a huge success. People are sitting at home in their pajamas, maybe having some popcorn and watching our cafe from home instead of driving out on the roads. Third is cultural. In our evaluation of our audiences here in Raleigh, we have realized that there is a target audience that is very, very close to the museum that we are not reaching. They are not coming to our site, and we wanted to know why. So we talked to some local community groups, some leaders of other institutions, and we found that in some cases there can be cultural barriers to coming to a cafe, even when no geographic barrier is present. Neighborhoods I'm talking about are in East Raleigh, North Carolina, and it's typically a low-income minority community over there in East Raleigh, and we really want to make sure that we are giving as many people as possible access to our cafes. So in talking with other leaders in that community, they let us know that their peers aren't coming. Their parents may not be putting a higher value on non-formal and non-traditional education, and so we weren't getting those kids in. Maybe their teachers didn't know about it, but we were not reaching them, and we see a fault in that. So what we are trying to do is put this out to those particular groups, put it out to groups that are having the geographic barriers, homeschool groups, people that were not coming into the museum, and trying to get them engaged with us on their terms. It gives participants the opportunity to create their own learning experiences. We have several homeschool group followings that are 30 miles away, and they get watch parties together. They order pizza, they already have their activities ready, and they sit and they do the cafe with us. So there's tremendous value to reach people on their terms, but also hopefully that will translate to people coming into the museum, getting to know us, and for us to advance our mission of, getting kids interested in science. So I know I breezed through that pretty quickly, but we're going to talk really briefly about the resources that I've prepared for you guys today. You can see RJ mentioned earlier that the Teen Science Cafe resources page has the links that I've put together for you. And if I just scroll down here, try to be comprehensive in this, with the first being a link to a Hootsuite article about the how-tos, like why is Facebook the way to go? What is it about this particular platform that is successful, what successes are people having, and how can you use that to work for you. Another big one that I think you guys probably have in mind is how can I have a video broadcast initiative on a budget? I understand budgets are tight. Many of us are probably working in state-funded, maybe nonprofit institutions, and grants. They only go so far. So there's this article by the Social Media Examiner, and it's 4 ways to broadcast on Facebook Live that fit any budget. And that goes from using your phone to having a full digital media studio. So I'd encourage you guys to take a look at that. And as I mentioned on this resource page, the best place to start is by talking with your IT, marketing, and digital media teams at your institution. They're going to have the best knowledge of what you can do with the budget that you guys need have to work with. And then there's another one by HubSpot, which is just a how-to guide for Facebook Live. How do you even start an event? What are the buttons that you hit? And what are some successful measures that you could take to make sure that you have fully engaged your online audience? So back to that presentation really quick. So I want to go ahead and open it up for Q&A. I know I've been doing a lot of talking, so let's see what you guys have to say.
Hi, Kathryn. We actually have gotten a few questions in real quick. Let's see if I can find them. Excuse me. Teresa asks about the bandwidth problems. They have problems uploading videos at their library location, and it's hard to even show YouTube videos. So do you have a workaround for that?
A workaround for that? In uploading, you're having trouble uploading to where? To Facebook or to your website?
I'm guessing to Facebook. Maybe the videos to Facebook.
Unfortunately, I am not an IT personnel, and that kind of issue isn't something that I have tremendous experience with. I would suggest that you talk to the people who are in charge of your network to see, where that problem is. Is it the size of the files? Is it your connection speed? They would probably have those answers better than I would, since I'm not, there at your institution. But I would think that if you have wireless capabilities and wired capabilities, that somebody there at the library would probably be able to give you some advice on how to upload.
Okay, Vicky asks, what kind of video capabilities and equipments do you need to have? Do you have to upload to Livestream and Facebook Live?
So Livestream, that platform I believe is pretty heavily integrated with a studio setup. You would need a full multimedia, digital media suite, to get that feed going. But Facebook, anybody can do Facebook. I'm going to tab quickly over to the article on 4 ways to broadcast that fit any budget. Facebook Live is something that you can do with a smartphone. Now, I'm not completely sure that this would be the best thing to do for a Teen Science Cafe, considering how long they are. But, you could, there's investments in, a mobile phone setup where you can actually have a tripod and you can hook a microphone up to this apparatus, this rig that will let you use a phone to broadcast. Again, you need a strong Wi-Fi connection in order to do that. There's also other things like you could do it from your computer, from your desktop using a webcam, or again having the full multimedia studio. I would suggest again talking to the people in charge at your institution to figure out which would be the best for you. But Facebook Live has a lot of flexibility on where that video feed comes from. Okay?
Excellent. Teresa asks, do you have to prepare your speakers or presenters any different so that they're recordable for online audiences? I guess for the camera purposes.
Yeah, that's a really great question. Generally, not so much. We let them know that it's going to be recorded. We let them know that occasionally, myself or the cafe coordinators will be talking to the online audience. You know, when we get into the room, we say hey to the audience in person, and we also give a wave to the cameras to the people that are joining us online. But the speakers, you know, we like it to translate as evenly as possible between in person and online. Our speakers have PowerPoints, very much the same as I just had for you, that we put up on those screens and we put into the digital feed so that they are seeing the same thing that our cafe audience is seeing. But as far as preparing them for how to speak, cafes are informal and informal by nature, and they're fun and they're cool, and that really actually reads quite well, I think, over the internet.
Fiona asks, how many, oh, I lost it here. How many people are behind the scenes to produce and troubleshoot your digital feed, and are they teens or are they staff members?
That's a great question. So we have a full digital media staff of about 10 people, but we have 2 that are designated to each cafe. So that's up in the broadcast studio. They are taking care of getting the feed going into the switchers and doing all the, you know, plugs and cables and making sure everything is going and getting to Facebook. As soon as we curate a live feed, Facebook automatically knows that that's happening, and it says Facebook is live. And then I personally go in and add all of the information to that Facebook post. So it's 2.5 people. I consider myself a half. As part of the teen newsroom program, that was an excellent question. Are they teens? We do, or we try to encourage those teens to get involved with that production process. And so perhaps in the future, we will send a teen from that program up into the studio to kind of see the behind the scenes and maybe help out our 2 digital media staff.
Okay, can you give us any sense of bandwidth that would be needed to upload videos?
Okay, that's a good question. And I actually have one of our digital media staff here, Matt, who's producing this webinar. We're here in our distance learning studio at the museum, and he may have the answer to that question.
Yeah, for upload at 720p, which is kind of like the minimum HD resolution you want. Right now, we use an upload bandwidth of about 2,500 kilobits per second. So most, I don't want to say most institutions can support that, but we have a fiber network on our campus here that allows us to do that, and it's definitely within reach of, you know, budget situations, because that's within the terms of what people can upload at home with their internet speed usually.
Great, thank you so much, Matt. And just to reiterate that, it's not completely out of reach for small institutions. People can have that bandwidth at home with their home Wi-Fi networks and their home wired networks. So that's definitely something that's achievable. Thank you for that, Matt.
And this one, Matt might be able to answer this one as well, or Kathryn. Lawrence asks, using a WordPress site, do you have any suggestions for a WordPress plugin for digital streaming?
I'm not aware of any, but being that WordPress is just basically a website template type thing, you could stream live to YouTube and embed your YouTube link into your WordPress site, and I think that would probably be the easiest way to wrangle that.
And to answer that, Lawrence, for us here at teensciencecafe.org, we also upload all of our videos to YouTube and embed them into our website. So that's how we do it. Raylene asks, or says, many of our students prefer to use other social media outlets like Instagram and Snapchat rather than Facebook. Do you know if students have to have a Facebook account to access Facebook live streams? And before I let you answer that, Kathryn, we had the Teen Science Cafe Network workshop here in Albuquerque over the summer, and I went over this in one of the sessions. We used a few metrics. I can't remember the websites I took them from, but over 88% of teens, U.S. teens, have a Facebook account. Even though they say they don't, A lot of 88% of teens, this was from July's statistics, have a Facebook account and log on every day. So a lot of teens will say, I don't have Facebook. Facebook's something my grandma uses and I don't want to use it. But they do log on daily. So don't let them try to fool you with that one. And Kathryn?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was what I was going to say. You know, it's almost taboo, I think, now for teens to have Facebook, but the numbers do show that they are on and they are engaging with their peers and they are watching on Facebook. 88% is a really high number of those polled teens. But as Matt was just saying, I don't know if you could hear him, if the event is public, you do not have to have a Facebook account to watch that feed. But again, if they don't have the account, they may be missing that notification. So say I follow the museum or I follow your Teen Science Cafe, Raylene, when you go live, I get a notification to my phone that says, we are live now. You guys are live now, and I can go ahead and tune in. So they will be missing that kind of, pull, that lure, but you don't have to have it in order to watch it.
I'd also like to add that Instagram just recently added a live streaming component to their app. It requires use of a smartphone or a tablet, but basically their mobile app in order to stream to it. But it is an option out there.
Yeah, the museum just started to stream longer events on the Instagram live feed. So we're interested to see how that could work for Teen Cafe because, as Matt just said, it has to be done from the mobile platform.
Currently, Instagram does not archive the live stream after the fact, though, so only the people that tune in live will be able to see it.
Right. And that, that's going to be what we're going to be talking about in the webinar on February 1st, is what to do with your archived content that you've created. Now you've had something done live, but what, does it die after that? Or can you just continue to, just like get all the juice out of that fruit that you can? So while Instagram is very popular, you will not have that archival record, that archival video to refer back to.
And we're still taking questions. If you have any questions, you can type them in the chat box now. Raylene says thank you very much. One question that came in before the webinar, what's the best platform to start with?
I don't know that there is a single best. I think it completely depends on your institution. If you're starting from scratch, Facebook definitely, it's been around a long time. People know how to use it. People are familiar with it. People of all ages use it. You're not necessarily going to catch parents of your target teens on Snapchat or Instagram. So it really depends on what your objective is. And what you already have established, I would say.
Okay, what's the most important thing to have or to do when you're first starting out broadcasting the cafes?
The most important thing I think is coming up with your tech solutions that are going to work for your institution. It's nice to, dream big, dream small, but really it's tailoring it to what you're going to need, what is going to do it for you, and making sure that it works. I don't know if that completely answers your question. I think it's very highly dependent on your situation. If that doesn't, and you want me to go into a little bit more detail, just let me know. Can you repeat that again, RJ, and see if I missed something?
It was, what's the most important thing to have or to do when you're first starting out broadcasting the cafes?
Definitely having your technology in place, but also promotion. If you have a product, it's not going to do any good if nobody knows about it. So once you have your technical setup good and out of the way and you're comfortable with it, really get out there and push that. If you want to have a digital audience, you need to have the audience in the first place. So I think that it's very important for the streaming platforms to be working hand in hand with your social platforms.
Vicky has two questions here. Are the Facebook Live videos archived? And for those that don't have a Facebook account, do you just mark it to watch using the link, or do you tell them to go to your Facebook page?
That's great. So Facebook Live videos are archived. You can go back and find them, but they're kind of, I mean, it's not as clean as live stream. Like, you have to go into the Facebook page, then you have to click videos, and if you're an institution that does multiple live events, you have to scroll through. There's not really a quick way to, a nice, clean interface the way that live stream has. But it's not to say that it won't work. And then what was the second part of that question, RJ?
If you do not have a Facebook account, do you mark it by using a link?
I guess you would have to. I don't know what social media you would be using to promote these cafes, but if you're talking about marking it with a link to your audience, if maybe you're saying in your newsletters, Vicki, that you're sending out,
in a newsletter or an email, I guess.
What was that?
I think newsletter or email.
So newsletter or email. Unfortunately, the link for the Facebook Live feed won't be a link until you start your broadcast. You can give somebody the URL to the Facebook page and have them tune in at a certain time. Say, go to our Facebook page at 6 p.m. and watch there. So you won't be able to give them the link to the individual video, but you can absolutely link to your Whiteville page, Vicki, and have the audience come in. You just have to tell them what time it's going to happen.
Fiona says, there are only 2 staff members at our library assisting with our cafes. Do you think it's realistic for us to broadcast?
I say shoot for the stars. If your teens are we have cafe coordinators, and I'm assuming you probably have teens on some kind of advisory board that are helping out with your cafe. If not, I apologize, I'm making that assumption. But give them more responsibility. Our teens really thrive on being the ones that run the cafe. Give them as much responsibility as possible to get the cafe going and to manage the things that you can let them manage while you and your other staff person work on coordinating a video and social media feed. For example, I am not really that necessary to be managing that social media feed. Once our digital broadcast gets going, I could put one of the students on the computer to be engaging with the online audience. They could be taking the questions. The rest of our cafe coordinators, they're introducing the speaker, they're talking to the audience, they're making sure that the activity is running smoothly, they're doing all the prep work. So really, you can work with a pretty bare bones staff to do all the really heavy technical things, but get your kids involved. That's what they're here for. That's what they want to learn, and they're really excited to have that amount of responsibility in our experience.
And to add to that, at our Los Alamos Cafe, we don't broadcast our cafes yet, but we do a video wrap-up, kind of showing what happened and stuff like that. And we post to our Facebook page and to YouTube. And we have a teen leadership committee, a multimedia committee that does videos. What they do is they record, they edit, they add the music, they do all the fun stuff like that. So you may want to look into seeing if any of your teens are interested in recording, even if they use just their cell phones. It doesn't have to be the fanciest of equipments. To start recording, maybe not necessarily broadcasting, but recording some of your cafes and go from there. Fiona also, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, RJ, could you maybe throw up that link for the audience? Because I would certainly like to see what your multimedia kids are doing. That's right in my wheelhouse as well.
Yes, definitely. I will definitely show a few of our cafes. They are on the Teen Science Cafe Network's YouTube page. I'll post a link to that in the chat box, and I'll send that link out as well.
Great, thanks. Yeah.
Fiona also asks, do you need to get a consent for photography or publication for Facebook from the teens or their parents? Or do you just put a poster outside the cafe?
Question. So part of our process for all youth programs, when we have our teen volunteers come in for any program in the museum, when they turn in their health form, they also turn in a photo waiver. At the very beginning of the semester program, the year program, we take care of that right out of the bat. As far as the audience, it is a public event and it's a public venue. So our cafe coordinators get on the stage and they say, hey, just to let you know, we're going to be taking pictures and live streaming and recording this broadcast. You've given them the announcement that you're doing it, and people, if they're not all about that, they can move to the back. They can come to you with concerns. But we've never had that happen. But as far as the team leadership committees, that's just something that we take care of in our initial paperwork with our volunteers. Does that answer the question?
I think that is, yes.
Great.
And also, if you go to teensciencecafe.org under the resources tab, we do have a national permission slip for photography and videography. So you could go to teensciencecafe.org under the resources tab. We have another question. Do you have any tips for somebody that doesn't have all the bells and whistles?
You can do it without the bells and whistles. It's nice to have them. You know, the tree all lit up with tinsel, it's a really great image. But you can get by and you can have a good product. It's just figuring out what's right for you. What's right for your audience, what's right for your group, what's right for your institution. Just because you don't have it doesn't mean it's not going to be good. And so I encourage you to even do it. Even if it's small beans in the beginning, just go for it. Because you're going to have a good product and you're still going to reach more people.
Awesome. And if there's any more questions, we're open to taking any questions now. And if anyone on the phone would like to ask a question, the phone lines are also open.
I'd also just like to thank you, RJ, for putting out there what your media team of cafe coordinators or team leaders are doing. Because video broadcasting doesn't have to look the same. It doesn't have to look the same depending on your institution. You know, you guys aren't doing the live streaming, but you are recording video during the cafe, packaging it, and putting out later. That's really great. And we can definitely talk about that more in our next webinar, which is using your digital assets after the cafe. You know, it doesn't have to be immediate. It's still going to have value no matter which way you do it.
And
I just want to add as well, if anyone has any more very technical questions, you can send those to Kathryn and she'll forward them on to me, and I can go further in depth, than we can on this live broadcast.
And that was Matt, our digital media producer here at the museum, who said that he would be happy to answer any technical questions. I will put up, that's a good time to do it now. There's my contact information. So if you guys have any questions about any of the technical stuff, you want to get in touch with me directly, there's my email, and I can forward on the heavy technical stuff to Matt. I've also put up the link to our live stream if you'd like to go ahead and check that out, our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagrams. And those are all run by teams, by the way.
Part 2 of the digital engagement webinar is going to take place on Wednesday, February 1st, noon Mountain Time. That's 2 Eastern, 11 Pacific. Can you give us a preview of what we'll be going over on that webinar?
Certainly. So if you're doing this live streaming, we've got all of these moving parts. We put a record, we put an event out there. But like I said, we record everything, and we have this tremendous archive of video. Why waste it? Don't let it just, sit in a box, never to be opened again like a terrible toy. Let's take it out. Let's play with it. Let's do something else with it. So we're going to be talking about what you can do with your archived digital video or digital assets and taking those out to continue to reach new audiences.
Excellent. Thank you so much for part 1 today and joining us. And we'd like to thank everyone for joining us, taking time out of your day to join us. We had a tremendous audience today. Part 2, like I said, will be February 1st, Wednesday, February 1st at noon Mountain Time. That's 2 Eastern, 11 Pacific. And we will go over, like she said, what to do with the next part of the video. You have the video, we'll go over that. Today's webinar will be packaged and put up on the Teen Science Cafe website, teensciencecafe.org. It'll be under a blog post, and we'll also put it up on our Teen Science Cafe Network YouTube page. You can find that just by looking up Teen Science Cafe Network on YouTube. We'll also post that on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of our social media accounts from the National Resource Center. Kathryn, thank you, and thank Matt so much for today. We really appreciate what you have done for us.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. It was a pleasure. And again, please feel free to send questions my way. I'm excited about the topic, and I really hope to see maybe you guys taking off and running with it. Thank you.
Excellent. And like I said, a copy of this broadcast will be made available this afternoon or tomorrow morning. So as for now, we're signing off. Thank you very much for joining us.